live dog of the week. Trying to pick out some money line dogs here for you to feast on the week after Thanksgiving.
You feasting on dog?
Yeah, right.
Come on.
Oh, well, we don't do that in this country.
Well, we're going to skirt that issue, and we're going to go right into UNLV at SMU. KenPom has this game at -8. This game's tipping Wednesday night. My first question for you fellas, what's wrong with SMU? Jim, after collapsing 3 times in second halves, they needed a Herculean effort to beat UL Monroe. And meanwhile, UNLV's covered a couple games. Their schedule's been nuts. Do you think UNLV can pull off the upset?
I do. To reply to your question, what's wrong with SMU? I would say what isn't wrong with SMU right now. This team has plenty of issues. There is a coach on the hot seat. They have a little bit of banged up injury concerns. Kendrick Davis hasn't been the All-American threat that we really hoped he would be. It's just been kind of a disappointing year. Blown out by Oregon. Lost in overtime to Mizzou. You can't do that. You can't lose to Mizzou. Mm-mm. And I think this UNLV team is talented and kind of on the up and up. They got blown out by UCLA. So last game notwithstanding, but they were really feisty with feisty with Michigan, nearly beat Wichita State. I think getting Jordan McCabe in the lineup has been huge for them. He's been kind of the steady the ship point guard, set other guys up. I wrote about this on 3manweave.com if you're curious. But I just think the team's pretty solid, well coached, and they have talent. The only thing they lack is size, and I don't think SMU is going to crush them inside.
Yeah, they just play hard. Loved from their feistiness that we saw in the desert there in the MT showcase. And then back to SMU, not to beat the dead horse that's already 10 feet under another 5 feet, but just taking a step back, looking at this roster, it's basically 2 mid-major up transfers starting in the Weathers brothers, although I think we agree that Marcus is better than that sort of in a vacuum pedigree context. And then Zach Nuttall from Sam Houston State. And then Tristan Clark, who's on like his, kind of has the robo hips, sort of old man over the hump type of thing. And you're left with Kendrick Davis and Emmanuel Banduel. It's not a good roster. I'm kind of questioning why I ever fell in love with the roster. Maybe it was more of the coach and the King Kendrick rise to royalty, even though he was probably already at that point. So I don't know. I'm trying to understand where I went wrong with that one. And I'm with Jim. I think UNLV is going to be a live dog. This spread might come down lower, but I think they have a real chance to win this game.
Yeah. I frankly don't trust either team thus far in the season. So I might pick another game here in this slate here. I know, Jim. I know. Not a great start.
I'm going to get you on board with UNLV at some point this year. I'm going to tug you over to my side and you're going to come on over.
I'll keep tabs on that, folks. We'll see if Jim can do it. Let's go to our next game. Oral Roberts at TCU. Now, KenPom has this at -11. This one's Thursday night. Fellas, I'd be shocked if this spread was this high because Oral Bob has been on fire. This is absolutely a game, in my opinion, worth sprinkling. Now, Matt, Oral Roberts has not been good away from home. They're 0-2 against the spread versus 2-0 against the spread at home, 5-0 overall, 3 wins against non-D1 opponents, whatever.
Right.
There's Oral Roberts coming to Fort Worth. You don't just go into Fort Worth.
No, you don't. DeFrat Worth, absolutely not.
Places
they have a new stadium. I forget what it's called. But anyway, it's not Cameron Indoor.
Schollmeyer Arena.
Vintage venue, Schollmeyer. Classic.
Do you remember when they were redesigning the court and it looked like really scaly horned frog stuff and it wasn't done, but people thought it was? And we're like, they're playing on that? Like it was a weird gray. It would have been a unique home advantage. It
would have been. And then I think before that, they played at like the Fort Worth YMCA. At least that's what it looked like from the camera angle. Anyway, I don't care where this game's played, to be honest. I think Max Asmus is on the up and up and his Eagles are starting to soar. I think if you look at that Central Arkansas loss and people are like, oh, gross. ORU's broken. They're not the same team as last year. And like, that was just a weird random game that a lot of shots went in for UCA and a lot of shots didn't go in for Oral Bob. We've seen the Oral Bob team the last 2 games. Oklahoma State, they should have won that game, by the way. And then being Tulsa, I think they're going to go on a little surge here. A little confidence, getting that mojo back from last year. Maybe the start was more of a hangover from the Cinderella run. And yeah, just because ORU had some stinkers to start, you're getting some really good value here on the money line sprinkle. So this is, I think, Jim, you picked out the best one on the board for the next week or so.
Yeah, I love Oral Bobby. They're coming on. You mentioned shots not going in. Asmus was 3 for 18 at Central Arkansas. Like that is all-time fluky for him. He's too good for that performance. Oral Roberts. That's
I
fine.
like
I'll call
Oral
them that.
Roberts.
Oral Roberts. They're a
love
little
it.
weak. They're a little weak in the paint. So Emmanuel Miller for TCU could have a big one, but it's just they're not strong enough. They don't have like a true center. Like if they played somebody, one of those Big Ten powerhouses with like TJD or Hunter Dickinson or something, Oral Bob would be in a lot of trouble. But this is a junior matchup of Ohio State where it's like a versatile forward. Miller is the comp to EJ Liddell, and we know this team can beat Ohio State. They did beat Ohio State,
Ooh.
so I am in on Oral Roberts winning this game.
Yeah, I'll say this as well. TCU just isn't that good right now. They're letting teams hang around.
Yeah.
It's been a little disappointing. They can't really get away from these bigger spreads.
I'm mad at you both. You both talked me into TCU, and
I
was
know.
drinking the Kool-Aid, and now I'm spitting up that Kool-Aid. It's ridden with poison.
It's November 30th. We'll give them time. We'll see where they land in conference play. But at the very least, I think Oral Bob stays within double digits here. So keep an eye on that spread. Moving on. Wednesday, back to Wednesday. Ohio, the Bobcats at LSU. KenPom predicts the spread at 12. Jim, the question on your mind and everyone's mind is, are the Tigers actually invincible? Because they've jumped up from 43 to 17 in KenPom, and they're sporting a top 20 defense right now.
I buy it. It sounds crazy to be like LSU, Will Wade, awesome defense. What? How's that happening? Because last 2 to 3 years, that has not been the case. But there is length and athleticism and physicality all over this defense. They're first nationally in steal rate. They're fifth in block rate. They just make shit happen on the defensive end. And as much as I like Ohio and they're well coached and they have a budding young star at point guard, it's LSU's just overwhelmed every mid-major team that's ventured down to Baton Rouge. Like it's been disgusting. They beat Belmont by 30. They beat Liberty by 16, overwhelmed in the second half, beat Texas State by 25. Like mid-major teams haven't been able to measure up to this. I think LSU takes care of business.
I think Ohio can hang around because they're smart and they have their bigs and forwards can handle the ball and make good decisions. They have a proven point guard and a younger point guard, but a good point guard that we trust in Mark Sears. And you have to be able to handle the pressure against LSU. That's how they've put on these 30-0 runs, as Eric Musselman calls it, the spurtability effect LSU has it this year. And so Ohio is partially immune to that just because of their DNA. This is a stay away from me in terms of a live dog. I think Ohio is probably the right side from a spread perspective, but in terms of money line sprinkles, this is not what I'm looking to go for.
I am worried about the Dwight Wilson injury for Ohio all season. This probably affects him a little bit here in this game. Also, London McDay, who was all defense in the MAC last year. He's
London
not
McDirty work.
Yeah, he's not a starter by any means, but man, he's important. He's a glue guy. Like I said, all defense. That matters against a power team. You're trying to lock up. LSU's offense, by the way, is top 20 as well. Top 30, whatever it is. It's very, very good.
Yeah, it's just good.
Yeah.
Ohio gave up like a 33-10 run at Kentucky, and LSU might not be Kentucky, but it's possible to put a run on them for sure.
I kind of see a lot of points in this game. If anything, I might take the over. Ohio has the shooting for sure, and LSU I think is going to put up points in droves. So keep an eye on the total as well for Wednesday. All right, last one here before I kick it to Matt for maybe one or two other ones. DePaul is hosting Loyola Chicago in a battle in our city, Matthew.
Yeah. Are we going to this?
You know what?
Should we go in Tampa is the better question. That's what folks want to know.
Depending what side we're on. Loyola projected at -5 per KenPom. Now, I'm pretty sure KenPom is throwing in quite a bit of home here. DePaul's home, not that great to begin with, and Loyola's literally taking.
Come on, Kai. It's not called Lose Trust Arena. It's Win Trust Arena. Come on.
But Loyola's taking the bus down or taking the train down to this arena. I mean, it's very short.
I like picturing them on the L, the red line.
Taking the L. But Matt, Demons might be for real, man. Their strength and schedule might be a little bit weak right now. They've only played one top 150 team. But they're 5-1 against the spread. They're clearly better than last year. Loyola's pretty good themselves. Do you think DePaul gets it done here? Little money line sprinkle.
Yes, I do actually.
Wow.
And that's despite of the fact that I watched Loyola look very much the part as a power conference caliber squad against Michigan State and Auburn. In no way overmatched in those games. We saw them destroy meddling mid-majors, low majors the first 4 games. So that was kind of the first litmus test. Then they beat the crap out of Arizona State. I know Arizona State's a little bit in disarray right now, but you win by 18. That still is worth something in my mind. So Loyola is legit. I think top 40 legit. DePaul is, could they be top 50 good, Jim? that the upside?
I'm against you. I think DePaul is been a little bit fraudy so far,
Okay.
and they're going to get exposed by Loyola. They haven't played anyone. Like Rutgers is the best team they played, and it took a wild shot making exhibition late to beat Rutgers. I don't think DePaul is as good as they've shown. Great at blowing out bad teams. I think Loyola is gonna wake them up a little bit.
I like that. Matt, 2 for you from the Big Ten. Now, these are tough to call money line dog sprinkles, but spread's going to be pretty high in both these games. What are you looking at?
Yeah, these should both be 7-point plus spreads. I'm looking at Rutgers at Illinois and looking at Iowa at Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
Basically talking about 2 top 5, top 10 teams in the country, 2 of the best teams in the Big Ten looking to fade. And I don't know, maybe Illinois or fading Illinois and Purdue is foolish, but Illinois has had a massive problem closing out games. I think they have a propensity to let teams hang around. Rutgers could be in an all-time desperate spot, maybe getting Geo Baker back in that game. It just feels like one of those spots where you look at the score, it's like Rutgers is beating Illinois, huh? Illinois was bonkers hot, and they still were up 4 or 5 against Notre Dame last night. I know that was without Curbelo, but everyone else played. Frazier was there. All the other horses were intact. So I don't know. I'm looking at Rutgers there as a live dog. And then one more. And then with Iowa, Jim, we watched Iowa have Virginia on the ropes.
Yeah, I was good
on the road. And Iowa's legit. And they certainly can propose some mismatch problems the way Keegan Murray can step out, move on the perimeter, perhaps drag Tavion Williams and Zach Edey away from the rim. I know Purdue losing at Mackey is like happens once in a million years, but Iowa is that good this year. I think we disrespected them preseason, and odds makers are still looking to catch up.
I think Purdue smashes Iowa, unfortunately. I thought they were throwing in a lot of slop against Virginia early, and even in the second half, they had some shots that I didn't feel were totally consistent or sustainable. As for the other one, man, I don't know what to do with either of those teams. I'm almost to the point where I think Illinois is a little better when Curbelo's out because he's so sloppy with the ball.
I agree. And Frazier rocks. And Frazier's good.
Yeah, Frazier's fantastic. Alfonso Plummer's been really, really good. Steadier than we thought. He's usually very streaky. So I don't think I'm on board with either of these, Matthew, unfortunately, but I am keeping an eye on Iowa because I was just definitely too low on them in the preseason, and I'm still catching up.
And I lied, guys. I want one more because one of our producers, Tommy Freeze Pops, has a question for us. Rhode Island's heading to Providence this week in what is arguably the number one rivalry in this state in college basketball.
Brown is insulted.
Brown's insulted, as is Bryant. There are 4 teams in Rhode Island. That's ridiculous. 2 in Minnesota for those keeping track at home.
Yeah.
Huge rivalry. Can the Rams compete here? Can the Rams pull the upset? They didn't play last year, Jim. Rhode Island won 2 years ago. Providence won 3 years ago. Do you see Rhode sticking around?
I kind of do. Man, this Rhode Island defense is for real. Like the shot blocking, they lead the country in block rate. The Mitchell twins are just beasts in the paint. And Providence is banged up right now. Jared Bynum is definitely out against Texas Tech, just announced, and I would imagine he'll probably be out for this one. So you lose a little playmaking there. Nate Watson's not going to be the normal, like, oh, we can just throw it to him and get a bucket because of the Mitchell twins. So I'm not a huge fan of David Cox at Rhode Island, Matt. Like, not a coach that I trust, but I think this team's pretty solid. I undersold them as well. And Providence maybe struggle a little bit with some of their injuries.
Yeah, I like Rhode Island a lot this year. The Fats Russell effect is, I'm not going to go full blown Ewing theory that they're just better without him.
Go Ewing theory.
Okay, fine. Fuck it, I will. Yeah, they're better without him because you know why? They have Jeremy Shepard playing more on ball, who's like the antithesis of Russell, right? More calm, collected, composed. Ishel Amin from Ball State, who was a star there, is a very effective, efficient, like off-ball complementary piece. So just that tandem in the backcourt makes me feel oodles better than I did about the Rhode Island offense last year, which was you don't know what the hell you're going to get with that team. And so with that sort of stability on offense, with the defense Jim talked about, I like the Rams. I do. I think they win here.
I think they win on the road.
I think they win.
At the Dunk.
At the Duncan.
Impressive. Ken Palm's got the spread only on around 4, so it will be pretty low.
And by the way, for those that don't know about the history of Providence and gambling, you can bet a few people in the arena will have tickets on either side of here. So I would advise you, if you're going to be in the building, to hop in on the Rammies.
Very good, Matthew.